I'd like to share a very simple worksheet that I use to assess a learning outcome. What you need to do is this worksheet is set up for 20 students, and you determine the learning outcome you're going to measure and what tool you're going to use to measure it. So for example, I'm going to pick a Bill Forney outcome from his Electric 125 class, where his very first outcome is identify the hardware components used in a desktop computer. So if I place the information here, identify the hardware components used in a desktop computer. Now what I can do is come over to my assessment tool area, and let's assume that Bill uses an exam. So he's going to have an exam on hardware components. And that's the tool he's going to use for assessment. Now what you do is you enter your student names. I just have fake names, student name 1 to 20. You put in the total score over here in C4. So let's say this exam was worth 100 points. Put in the total 100 points, and then you begin by just entering each student's grades. So I'm just going to give a mixture of grades, and some students didn't show up for the exam, so they didn't take it. Some didn't do well, others did great. And we'll just continue to add some more grades. Okay, so now what this does is I have a calculation here that automatically will take the score, the points that the students earn, divide it by the total points above to give you a percentage. And that's their grades. Now what you can then determine is down below here I have some functions that will count the number of students who learn the outcome. And the way I define a student who learned the outcome is that they earned a 70% or higher. And I actually have it so that it's rounded to 69.5% or higher. Then it will count the number of students who did not learn the outcome. And that means they earned more than a 0 but less than 69.5%. And then lastly, I'm counting the number of students who did not complete an outcome, in other words, earned a 0. Because that's the difference between grades and assessment. A student who did not complete the exam, we really don't know, there's a grade of an F, a 0 for them. However, we don't know if they learned the outcome or not. So they should not be included in the assessment statistics for your course. So in this example, we had 14 students earn 70% or higher, 69.5% higher, 3 that did not, and 3 did not take it. So now your bottom numbers down here are actually going to count the number of students who completed the outcome, and that's your 14 plus your 3, or 17. And then it's going to give you a percentage of how many successfully learned those outcomes and how many did not. So there's your overall assessment for learning outcome number 1, that Bill would say 82.35% of my students learned this outcome, only 17.6% did not. Now that's just for one outcome. If you now want to take this, and you can take your worksheet and right click on your worksheet tab and go to move or copy, and you can create a copy and click OK. And now you can go to worksheet number, and you could rename this and call it outcome 1. And you can rename this and call it learning outcome 2. And then you can begin by doing another, the next learning outcome. So let's use Bill's next learning outcome. It's to remove and properly install all the hardware devices. So let me copy this and now paste this over here. And let's say for this example now, instead of a test, he uses a lab. So we're going to say lab to install hardware. And let's say this lab is going to be worth 200 points. And once again, you start by putting the student's score in, and you continue. All right, so you have your learning outcome number 2. It was a lab to install this, worth 200 points. Once again, you get your percentages. Once again, you can see that out of this now, you had 17 students complete it. And in this example, all 17 students successfully completed, got a 70% or higher. 3 still did not take it. So here, your statistics show that your students, 100% of your students learned the outcome. And you can continue to copy and paste and modify and make a spreadsheet for each learning outcome.